The Silk Road played a key role in distributing noodles across the globe. They evolved endlessly into an infinite spectrum of flavors and forms, delighting the people around the world. In every country, people found new ways to enjoy noodles. Korea is also home to various kinds of noodles, those humble dishes that warm the body to the core. A bowl of noodles is more than just food in Korea. It is a symbol of long, healthy life. Take a trip through the long thread of life as represented by Korean noodles. A bowl of noodles is a quick way to fill an empty stomach. It's inexpensive, it's fast, and it's delicious. They are a great substitute for a regular meal of rice, especially for busy Koreans. Because noodles only take half as much time to prepare and eat. A few large gulps and you are done. Today, noodles are available for everyone and anyone. But in the past, they were only enjoyed by the social elite or on special occasions.
In Korea, when preparing for special occasions, such as a wedding or a family celebration, you're almost guaranteed to hear the question, when will you be serving the noodles? And that's because in Korea, no feast is complete without them. But why noodles, you might ask? It's because in Korea, noodles symbolize a long, happy, healthy life.
Korean noodles are normally made of flour. But in the Joseon dynasty, wheat was rare and definitely not for the common folks. Also, noodles were difficult and time-consuming to make. So nobles would serve noodles at large gatherings to show off their wealth and power. Jeonjiguksu, translated into festive noodles, are served on happy occasions like weddings and birthdays. White noodles are served in a rich broth and decorated with colorful garnish. But why noodles? How did noodles become a symbol of a long, healthy life for Koreans? There are a number of theories regarding that question, but the most well-known idea has to do with the long shape of the noodles. However, the more likely explanation is hidden in the white flour that's used to make noodles.
The long noodles symbolize longevity, which is why noodles are often served at weddings or 60th birthday parties. In the past, flour was a precious and expensive food. This led to the belief that eating noodles would bring health and longevity.
Flour didn't become widespread until the Joseon dynasty, but our records show that the history of noodles begins before then, in the Koryo era. Before the arrival of flour, noodles looked a little bit like this. Not quite as perfectly white and tender as we know them today.
The history of noodles in Korea began with buckwheat, a robust crop that grows even in the harshest conditions. In the past, buckwheat was abundant in Korea and readily available for the masses. Times have changed, and noodles are now usually made with wheat flour. But the original buckwheat noodles are still made in Gangwon Province. Gangwon Province is the main producer of buckwheat in Korea. Pyeongchang and Chuncheon in particular offer a surprising variety of buckwheat noodle dishes. Buckwheat flour is less viscous than other types of flour, meaning that it takes much more time and effort to make buckwheat noodles. Two essential ingredients are salt and starch, which increase the viscosity of the dough. In the past, making buckwheat noodles was so labor-intensive that it required the effort of the whole village. Most doughs are left aside to rise, but buckwheat noodles must be made right away. The low viscosity of buckwheat means that the dough must be cut and boiled immediately in order to maintain the shape of the noodles. Buckwheat can only be harvested 2 times a year, in summer and winter. Koreans enjoy buckwheat noodles mixed with a spicy sauce in summer and in a hot soup in winter.
Gangwon Province is characterized by its mountainous terrain and cool climate. Buckwheat thrives in this kind of environment. Gangwon Province has long been a big producer of buckwheat and has developed a variety of buckwheat noodles over the years.
Just 60 to 70 years ago, buckwheat noodles were more common than wheat noodles. The dark color earned them the name black noodles, but with the advancement of technology, they came to have a lighter color. Today, they are normally enjoyed as bibimbap, mixed with sweet and spicy sauce, or in cold dongchimi broth. However, in the past, most noodles were served in a hot soup. Koreans call buckwheat noodles makguksu. The Korean word mak has 2 meanings, inattentively and just now. In this case, makguksu means just made noodles. Once a solid meal for Koreans in the past, makguksu is now a special delicacy of Gangwon Province.
Every region in Korea has its own specialty noodle dish with its own local characteristics. For example, in the north, you'll find a lot more memir or buckwheat because it's colder and mountainous. And you'll find dishes such as makguksu or naengmyeon. In fact, Gangwon Province is known for its buckwheat noodles or memirguksu. Now, in southern and western coastal regions, you'll find a lot more flour and fresh seafood, and this results in flour-based noodles in a seafood or shellfish stock. If you take a look, each of these noodles is shaped differently, and that's because the method of making the noodles varies from pressing to pulling to cutting.
In Korea, the most basic way to prepare noodles is to make the dough with wheat or buckwheat flour. After that, the methods differ according to the type of noodles and the ingredients used.
예, 칼국수 넣어드려.
Jolmyeon, which is made by cutting a flattened dough with a knife, is commonly enjoyed at home. It is called kalguksu, with the word kal meaning knife, and is usually eaten in seafood or meat broth. Kalguksu can be enjoyed at any time of the year, but it is a particularly warm and hearty meal on cold or rainy days. Of all noodles, somyeon is the most laborious to produce, but the most versatile to cook with. The noodles can be mixed with a spicy sauce or served in a hot soup. To make somyeon, wheat flour dough is set aside to mature and pounded once again to increase its viscosity. This is the only way to extract long, unbroken strands of noodles. The noodles are hung around a stick and left to dry somewhere cool for 2 or 3 days. Convenient to store, somyeon has a long shelf life and was even regarded as an instant food in the past. Noodles made with non-viscous ingredients like rice, corn, and buckwheat are made into apmyeon. The dough is pressed through a sieve-shaped cutter and boiled right away. The most famous apmyeon, buckwheat noodles. They become more viscous while they are boiled and must be eaten right away. Then there are starch noodles made with potato, corn, and sweet potato starch. The starch flour is boiled, then chilled in cold water. The noodles can be made into different shapes with different cutters. They can be made thin and long or short and thick, depending entirely on personal tastes. The most well-known starch noodles are olchini guksu made with cornstarch, glass noodles made with sweet potato starch, and cold naengmyeon made with potato starch.
Looks good. It's never gonna be as good as my grandma's though. Now, in Korea, noodle dishes take all sorts of forms, whether they be sautéed, served in a broth, even served cold. But one thing they all have in common is that they're never seen as nutritious enough to be eaten as a full meal. Let's see if that's actually the case.
Korean food is famous for its beautiful presentation, variety of flavors, and general health-boosting factors. However, noodles are often categorized as snacks and not full meals. But a bowl of well-made noodles is more nutritious than commonly thought. Take seafood kalguksu, for example. This popular noodle soup is made with a generous amount of vegetables and seafood. It has the most diverse ingredients of any noodle dish. Carbohydrate, protein, fat, and even fiber from the vegetables. Seafood kalguksu has it all. In the simple janji guksu, the nutrients are locked in the dark broth. When anchovy and vegetable-based broth meets wheat flour noodles, the result is a dish rich in calcium and minerals. Another favorite noodle dish of many, spicy bibimbap. It supplements its nutrients with the garnish. The noodles are topped with a rich sauce, boiled beef, and are enjoyed with broth on the side. With meat, grains, and vegetables all included, bibimbap can be a nutritious full meal.
Noodles are made of flour and starch, so naturally, you consume carbohydrates. However, the vegetables and meat that go in the dish can make a bowl of noodles a balanced meal.
In modern times, Korean noodles continued their evolution, guided by people's tastes and cooking methods. One type that went through major changes is today's most readily delivered food. One phone call is all it takes to eat jjajangmyeon. Jjajangmyeon began as a food sold to dock workers by Korean Chinese immigrants who settled in Incheon in the early 1900s. The original noodles were covered in the Chinese chunjang sauce, which was later adapted to create today's jjajangmyeon. In the past, the sweet and savory taste of jjajangmyeon was only permitted to Koreans on special days, like graduation days, birthdays, and company dinners. But now, it is a common food that can be delivered in the blink of an eye. It's hard to describe the addictive taste of jjajangmyeon to those who haven't tried it. For Koreans, the rich flavor is partially created by their memories attached to the dish. Jolmyeon is a derivation of glass noodles. It was created by accident at a glass noodle factory when the ingredients weren't mixed at a correct proportion. Now, jjolmyeon is one of the most popular fast foods in Korea. When it was first created, it was a huge loss for the factory, but now it is a great source of income. Spicy and sweet and sour, jjolmyeon offers a different experience from naengmyeon.
쫄면 나왔습니다.
Its greatest appeal must be the chewy texture. Koreans seek out jjolmyeon to add some flavor to their day. It's a radical success born from mistakes. Korea has the world's 6th highest consumption of ramyeon. The history of instant noodles in Korea began in the 1960s, when Koreans were looking for a cheap substitute for rice. Now it is the icon of a quick and easy meal. Add noodles and seasoning in boiling water and give it just 3 minutes. All instant noodles share this basic cooking method, but Korea's spicy ramyeon is unimitable in the global market. The world has become addicted to Korean ramyeon, whose exports to 80 countries around the world bring in $200 million a year.
Go by the instructions, throw them out.
Ramyeon is also evolving. Koreans have taken to adding various ingredients to ramyeon to create new, original flavors.
Let's take some artsy-fartsy pictures.
In just a few minutes, anyone can whip up a one-of-a-kind meal. Modest, but packed with flavor, ramyeon is a true Korean food.
Koreans have been enjoying noodles for centuries. And although the methods of preparation and presentation may have changed, one thing that hasn't is that the joy, prosperity, and longevity that they're meant to represent, well, you can still find that in a hearty bowl of noodles.
For decades, noodles have graced the tables of Koreans, giving them strength and energy. They are constantly changing into different forms and different tastes. The more Koreans eat noodles, the more they come to appreciate their value. Noodles run through the history and lives of Koreans. The next time you sit down to a delicious bowl of noodles, take a closer look. You'll be able to see the spirit of Korea entangled in the long strand.